And we are back with the fourth segment of the GSMC basketball podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this fourth segment, I'm going to be talking about the 76ers and how this is probably their best chance to win a title with Joel Embiid, given the pieces that they've acquired in free agency. So as all of you guys may know, the 76ers, they recently acquired Paul George in free agency. Now when you pair that up with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, everybody is expecting a title out of the 76ers, and that this is arguably one of their best chances to compete a title compete for a title, as this is their best chances of beating the Boston Celtics. Now, over the years, the Sixers and the Celtics, they've been duking it out in the postseason ever since Wilt Chamberlain was on Philly, and ever since Bill Russell was on Boston. They've always been a very competitive rivalry. Well, I only mean to say a competitive rivalry. I don't really mean to say that, and just by the environment. I don't mean to say the actual competition is all that competitive, because throughout a majority of the years, the Celtics have always beaten the 76ers. And it's not just in history in general, but in recent history, the Celtics have always beaten the 76ers. And it's something that you come to expect in every single postseason. You always expect the 76ers to fall short, most likely against the Boston Celtics. And given now that they have Paul George, this is arguably their best chances of winning a title in their entire existence, right? And after signing Paul George and the rest of the cast in free agency, the Sixers are one of the favorites heading into the 2024 and the 2025 season. The Boston Celtics and the Oklahoma City Thunder are the only two teams that have better odds than the 76ers at the moment, according to DraftKings Sports, which is a little bit surprising considering how the Knicks ended up beating the 76ers, but I guess adding Paul George is going to do that to your rankings. Now, the optimism is obviously, again, Paul George. It's warranted, so it makes sense that a lot of people are really optimistic about the 76ers, and not to mention the promise that Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey bring to the roster as well. And the additions that they got in free agency, Caleb Martin, Andre Drummond, Eric Gordon, and Reggie Jackson, they also give the 76ers a really well-rounded group of veterans, particularly with Kelly Oubre Jr. and Kyle Lowry in the fold as well. So the Sixers, they definitely have a very solid team to compete for a title. So if George and Joel Embiid stay healthy, the 76ers could break through their second round ceiling this season, and they could maybe even win a title. But again, this is just optimism. The 76ers, they always, almost every single year, fall short when titles and greatness is expected from them. And really, the best chance that they had in winning was when they lost to the Toronto Raptors in 2018. And actually, wait, no, not in 2018. It was in 2019 when they lost to the Raptors. They lost to Kawhi Leonard off of a brutal buzzer beater. That was one of the best. That was one of the better teams that Philly constructed. Having Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid, and Ben Simmons paired up with each other was very, very dangerous. And once they lost in the postseason to Kawhi Leonard, that was as quickly as they lost, that was as quickly as their title hopes ended right there, as Jimmy Butler ultimately ended up leaving. So this team, it's really been full of just disappointments, and I don't really think that while they do have, on paper, they do have the best chance to win a title, I don't think that I think the chances they're only going to get worse and worse as the season progresses, because again, this is still really optimistic on Joel Embiid and his health status for the postseason. One of the things that has plagued Joel Embiid throughout majority of his career are his injuries, and he's almost always injured once the postseason comes. So if he's injured in this postseason, then it's there go your title hopes. And when you're relying on somebody who is as injury prone as Joel Embiid, I don't think your odds are going to be great from the start. And I don't think you can really continuously gamble on somebody like him, especially when he has only had one healthy postseason in his entire career. And even then, that one healthy postseason was just a 4-game series. That was, it wasn't, everybody knew that the Celtics were going to end up winning that series. It wasn't a question. And it's like, yeah, I know, the Celtics, they ended up beating the 76ers in the only series where Joel Embiid was actually healthy. And again, it's like, it's one of those things where it's like you don't want the Sixers, you don't want this trend to continue repeating if you are a Sixers fan. And so you're just like, maybe this is the year that Joel Embiid finally stays healthy. But given how he has yet to do that, I don't really think you can. I don't really think it makes sense to get off on the idea that this will be the year that he stays healthy, because it's like he doesn't really have a good enough track record in staying healthy. So I don't really think their championship odds, like, I don't think their odds are great. Like, they might be great on paper, but outside of that, it's like it leaves little to be desired. So that's all that I have on this segment, and it's a little bit of a shorter segment, so we'll go ahead and go into the fifth segment where I talk about a player who I think doesn't deserve the MVP for a specific year. And a lot of people, they argue whether or not he deserves any of his MVPs, so I'm just going to go ahead and talk a little bit about that right after this short break. So be sure to stay tuned and figure out who this player is. And just a little bit of a spoilers, the year is 2006. So figure out who the MVP is for that year, and I'll be right back after this short break.